Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and good morning, everyone. So, yesterday I did promise I was going to continue with the reaction video, but I was a bit tired and I got a bit occupied, and it was very late at night. So, I decided to do something very early in the morning. It's now 8 a.m. I've got about 40 minutes or so before I start working on other projects and so on. So yeah, I am going to do a quick sort of reaction. I've got 40 minutes, like I said. The rest of the video is about 15 minutes, so maybe I'll make it roughly about 20 minutes reaction video. So I hope you enjoy it. I'm gonna try to pick up where we left off, possibly sort of reverse back a couple of minutes or so, inshallah. So I hope you enjoy this, and I hope this video does work. I'm just gonna adjust the video size just now, so I'm in this corner. I believe we stopped roughly about here yesterday. So here we go, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
To be mature means that you know you do not have the ability to do it, and you feel that you can't do it. And for example, if I'm going to fight with someone and I know that this person has training, I don't have the training that person has. And I know that I don't have the ability, and I feel that I can't. I choose my fights. So a mature person chooses their battles, doesn't go into everything and anything. Yeah, I can do it and be a hero. That's called ego, and you're going to fall flat on your face. A mature person and a believer chooses what they can and what they can't, and walks away. It's okay, it's fine. The third type is called overconfidence. Overconfidence, brothers and sisters, is when you know you don't have the ability, but you feel you can do it. Don't do that, you'll destroy yourself. And the last one is called underconfidence. Underconfidence is when you know you have the ability, and when it comes the time to implement it, you don't feel you have the ability. And this is what Rasul said, فَلَا تَعْجَزْ. Rely on Allah and go forward, be brave. Be brave as much as you can. The first step you take, inshallah, the next time you'll have the next step. And that is a quality of the believer. Once, as you know, in the biography time of the to implement it in the Battle of Uhud. Do you remember the Battle of Uhud? In the Battle of Uhud, the enemies of Islam were coming to attack the Muslims in Medina. And they had gathered the largest army yet. The Muslims were going to be annihilated if you look at just numbers and the allegiances against them. The story is long. And the Battle of Uhud, the Muslims started to motivate the Prophet ﷺ and insist on going out. Rasul ﷺ had seen a dream, and he came out to them and said, I saw in my dream, and you know the dream of the Prophet is from Allah. He said, I was wearing a solid armor, and I was wearing a solid armor, and I saw cattle that were slaughtered in front of me. They said, what do you think, Ya Rasulullah? He said, I think we should stay in Medina. It's an armor, and if we go out, it's going to be a catastrophe. Now, they said, Ya Rasulullah, is this your interpretation about war? He said, yes. They said, we think, Ya Rasulullah, that you may have made a mistake. Now, Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam didn't give it in a form of command. He said, look, this can happen or that can happen. They said, we think we should go out. Among them was Hamza radiallahu anhu, who said, Ya Rasulullah, go out, wallahi, I will not meet them except there. These people are like this and like that. Then they got too confident. Now the Prophet ﷺ went back inside and he wore his normal armor. He wore 2 armors that day and a heavier helmet. When he came out, the Muslims felt guilty. And they said, Ya Rasulullah, we felt guilty. We weren't thinking, we'll take what you said. Listen to what he said. He says, no prophet wears an armor and then takes it back off. What does it mean? He says, now that we have made a decision, we move with it. We do not take a step backwards. And this is the way to build your character. Once you've planned, you've gotten advice, you've all agreed, and you've made a decision, and you've moved away, keep going with that decision. Until a catastrophe happens, like something really is obvious. So nothing was obvious yet, just ideas. He said, we don't. We move forward and we do not hesitate anymore. As Allah says, فَإِذَا عَزَمْتَ فَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ. Once you are determined, rely on Allah and move forward. That's how all the prophets were. When they moved forward to the Battle of Uhud, they almost won the battle. But we all know the archers on the hill, their love for the spoils of war got to them. And you all know they're still all new Muslims. So they're still used to battles and taking the spoils. They forgot the teachings of the Prophet ﷺ. He told them, don't go off the hill. Then they said, the spoils of war, go and get your stuff. And most of them came off the hill. When they came off the hill, Khalid ibn al-Walid, who was a disbeliever at that time, he was the horseman who led the horses, and he found a way to come in like a hook, and they surrounded the Muslims because now they were disorganized and there was no one on the hill to stop them from coming in, and the Muslims, many were massacred, just like the dream of the Prophet ﷺ. And the Prophet himself was injured in that battle, and he almost died, and almost got killed. And Hamza, the one who said, let's go out, he got martyred in that battle too. Radiyallahu anhum ajma'in. Allah says in this, about this battle, He said in a long, obviously in Surah At-Tawbah and others, that what had happened to you, I'm just translating, what had happened to you, you may assume that it was bad for you. بَلْ هُوَ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ. It is good for you. وَاللَّهُ يَعْلَمُ وَأَنْتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Allah knows and you do not know. Whatever has happened to you of musibah, think of it as good. Allah is guiding us to tell us that even when you fail, be optimistic even in failure. It's hard, but we have the Quran telling us. Because you can overturn a failure into success. So what do you do with the failure? You learn from it. I always repeat this same analogy. A baby, how does a baby learn how to walk? Just learn from the baby. The baby gets up and falls in different ways. The baby is subconsciously learning. Say it fell 100 times. It's learning 100 ways of how not to fall by falling 100 times. The only way to learn 100 ways of how not to fall is by falling 100 times. So Allah tells them, it was not bad for you, it is good, no matter how it appears. And truly it was after that. They learned a big lesson. We move on to the fourth one, self-management, brothers and sisters. Now this is something that I see a lot of people neglect. Self-management and discipline. To have good self-management and discipline, Islam teaches us, get your priorities right. Get your priorities right. You can't take everything. You have to say 1, 2, 3 priorities. Number 2, have time management. Make a time for everything. Don't just use your time and waste it on everything. No. And number 3, know that in life, you're going to have 3 types of interactions with people. Don't be one without the other. You ready for it? In managing your interactions with people and yourself. So we said prioritize. We said time management, and number 3, you need to use people and they use you. So here's what it is. Number 1, as Ibn Taymiyyah and other scholars, I think Imam Nawawi said this, Allahu A'lam, I may have made a mistake, but they said something wise. They said, إِمَّا أَن تَكُونَ أَسِيرًا, you might be a prisoner in life, أو نظيرًا, or equal to others, أو أميرًا, or a commander. To be a prisoner is when somebody does a favor for you. Now you owe them. You're kind of like a prisoner, metaphorically speaking. It's not a bad thing. They just say asir means you do owe them. When you see them, oh, I owe them. Or equal. Equal means when you don't need others and they don't need you. So you have skills to look after yourself. That's a beautiful place to be. You don't owe anyone anything, they don't owe you, you are equal to them. And number 3, a commander is when you do good for others. They owe you now. You can't be a commander always because you'll be exhausted, always leading other people. You cannot be the asir, the prisoner always, because then you're a loser. And you cannot be equal with everyone else because life, the natural way of life is that you need people and people need you. So don't get an ego about it. Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam needed people. Sometimes they would need him and other times he would be equal with them materialistically. Materialistically. I'll give you an example of him being equal. Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam is a prophet, a messenger of God. He brings us deen. But there are things about life which he doesn't know more than others, such as crops and farming and all that stuff. Even in battles and war and location. He used to ask them, what do you think? And sometimes I've said, Ya Rasulullah, we don't agree with what you said. Because it's not a religious matter, it's a normal worldly matter. So you do also need to be equal with others. And that's how life goes. Number 5, a person who builds himself or herself must be okay with constructive criticism. You will not learn unless you accept what people say. Sometimes they're rude. Sometimes they're polite. What you got to do, a strong person is able to sift through the emotions and take what benefits you. That's the hadith of Prophet ﷺ. احرص على ما ينفعك. Be diligent on what benefits you. Sometimes you may receive, if you're on social media, someone puts something that's terribly arrogant and rude. If you can take something from it, good, and go and apply it. If it's all rude and no benefit, ignore it. That's a strong person, because that person does not make you. And if you let them affect you, that means they've got control over you. Number 6, to be a strong person and build yourself, you need to be able to accept your mistakes and be okay with them. You need to accept your mistakes and be okay with them, completely okay with them. And you need to own your mistakes. That way nobody has control over you. You don't let your mistakes define you either. Someone says you made a mistake, say, oh, thank you. Someone acknowledges something, you say, I actually acknowledge it. I once had a conversation on the aeroplane with an elderly man, and he was quite intelligent. And a whole trip for 2 hours, we were talking back and forth. Sometimes he'd make a good point after I had made a point, and I would say, I see. Well, that's a good point. I would acknowledge this point. I said, but I have a different angle as well. What do you think if this happened or that happened? So that's a good point. What about this one? So we were bouncing off each other. Sometimes I would beat him, sometimes he'd beat me. In the end, alhamdulillah, I beat him. But we were going through, it's a whole big talk. After we finished, there was a man sitting behind us. He gets up and he puts in and goes, please allow me to shake the hands of these two gentlemen. Your conversation, he said, I haven't seen a conversation between two people like gentlemen in a very long time. Why? Because a gentleman and a strong person, I'm not praising myself, I do make mistakes and sometimes I do fail. We all fail. But the strong person is one who is able to accept that they made a mistake. So what? Watch the stress go off you. Watch how much you'll develop and watch how people will respect you even more. So own your mistakes, acknowledge them, and have no problem with it. Everybody makes mistakes. And this will lead you to forgive yourself as well. Some people have problems forgiving themselves. They can never forgive themselves. Except that if you have done right by Allah, ask Him to forgive you and know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wipes everything away, and you are only human, you make mistakes and you develop and learn. Number 7, very important, brothers and sisters. A strong person to build themselves, take this advice. Wallahi, we've tried it and it works tremendously. Very simple, yet very hard to implement. Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Min husni Islam al-mar'i tarkuhu ma la ya'nih." A person to improve their Islam is to leave that which does not concern them. Don't go into areas that are not your business. Don't ask about things that are not your concern. Don't pry into things that don't concern you. Anything in life, things that don't benefit you are not of your concern. People's problems and people's secrets, don't pry into them. You're not invited, don't ask. A person didn't call, you called a person twice, 3 times, they didn't reply, that's it. Don't keep asking. You knocked on a person's door, they didn't answer. You knew they're inside. They didn't answer. Walk away with your dignity and don't talk about it. This is their right, not yours. And accept that. Allah says in the Quran, وَإِذَا قِيلَ لَكُمْ ارْجِعُوا فَارْجِعُوا. Meaning if you go to visit someone and they tell you, go back, Allah says, فَارْجِعُوا. Go back. The right is not yours. Don't sit there talking about it and say, I know they're in there and they're this and they're that. This is not your business. Allahu alam what is within there. And that's a high value person. Don't get involved in businesses that are not yours, and watch how less stress your life is, how healthier you'll be, how you'll sleep better, how you'll be happier in life, brothers and sisters. Subhanallah. Number 8, easy to say, a bit hard to implement for some people. Avoid as much as you can jealousy, envy, and comparing yourself to and competing with others in the wrong way, for the wrong reason. Competing with others for the wrong reason. Competition is good, but not for the wrong reasons. Jealousy, envy, and competing with others for the wrong reason will destroy you, my brothers and sisters. It will destroy you. And number 9 goes without saying, the modern person knows all this: your diet, your exercise, and your sleep. 3 things. All of these are in the Sunnah. And maybe one day we'll talk about this in detail. Your diet can make a difference in your energy levels, your esteem, how you feel, your moods, and your health, your exercise. Rasulullah used to exercise every day. He used to run. He used to jog. He used to train. One time he even encouraged his wife. He says, let's race. Aisha radiallahu anha. He beat her. She didn't forget it. She says, after a few years, I put on a little bit of weight. The first time let me repeat. Rasulullah told her, let's race. And she beat him. She said, a few years later, I put on a little bit of weight. And he said, let's race. This time he beat me. Obviously, the first time Rasulullah let her beat him anyway. But he's engaging in a nice relationship and also doing exercise together. And she said, it's not fair. I was a little bit lighter that time. And he was laughing, saying, no, we're equal now. You beat me last time, now me, 1 for 1. We're equal. Now we're equal. So that's how Rasulullah was. And once he tapped one person on his stomach in the salat. He was moving, making the line straight, and he just tapped one person whose stomach was a little bit protruding. He was joking with him. And when Rasulullah was about to die, on his deathbed, he came out and he said, anybody who has anything that I owe them, that I've wronged them in, come and take your right now. And this man said, Ya Rasulullah, one time you hurt me, you tapped me on my stomach. Prophet ﷺ lifted his shirt up, of course, over his belly button, and he said, take your revenge. So the man kissed his belly, the Prophet ﷺ's stomach. And he said, Ya Rasulullah, I wanted to get the barakah, the blessing of you. And this is the barakah and the blessing of the prophets is established in the Quran and Sunnah. For diet, health, Rasulullah told us, if you can, have a third of your stomach for water, a third for air, and a third for water, for food if you can. So, and the way we sleep, monitor your sleep. Some people, they stay up all night and then they sleep late. Even if you get your 10 hours, it's not enough. You need to sleep early and look after your body. And if you can do a qaylula in the daytime, a little siesta, that'll also help. Brothers and sisters, moving to the last one, sticking to your rights and your boundaries. How do you know you have a healthy, strong personality? It's when you know your rights, you know other people's rights, you know your boundaries, and you let people know your boundaries, and you know other people's boundaries, and you don't transgress the boundaries. And in this are relationships that become either sick relationships, toxic relationships, lively relationships, or dead relationships. How? It's got to do with rights and boundaries. A lively relationship is when it's filled with justice, kindness, mercy, giving, forgiving, pardoning, talking, discussing. That's called a lively relationship. Husband and wife, friends, brothers and sisters, all of you. The sickening relationship is when you only do things because you don't want the person to be upset. Oh, I better go, man, but I just don't want to upset them. But you've got priorities. I know, but I don't want to get them upset. That's low self-esteem. There's a polite way of saying, sorry, I can't, and saying no. Don't be a total yes person. The toxic relationship is when people expect you or you expect them to do something that is not their obligation, and you don't give them anything in return. Someone expects you to do an obligation for them, and they don't give you anything in return, and if you don't do it, they will guilt trip you as if it's an obligation. An example, if you have two friends, and you decided to invite one friend to a coffee. The other friend finds out, and let's say the other friend is a toxic type. He'll come and guilt trip you and blame you and put you down and say, why didn't you invite me? You're not a loyal friend. You know, I know, and then you probably talked about me, and then guilt tripping you like as if it was an obligation. No, it wasn't an obligation. Same with relatives, same with parents, same with children. If there are rights and obligations, of course, let me repeat that. When it comes to people you have no choice of having a relationship, like your parents and your siblings, your cousins, you don't work with them on rights and obligations. Rights and obligations between your relatives are only used when things go wrong. When a dispute happens, you go back to whose right is what. But family should be based on kindness, empathy, goodness, sacrifice, and giving up some of your rights. Not all of them, but some of them. Same with the husband and wife. You can't deal with rights, just your right and my right. That's like roommates. Which leads me to something called a dead relationship. A dead relationship is where everyone is indifferent. I don't care if you do it, don't do it. I don't care if you have an obligation or not. I don't care if you love me or not. If you're here, I don't care. I don't realize you're here. If you're gone, I don't ask about you. These are type of relationships you have to end. So brothers and sisters, as you can see, there are lots of qualities. These are the 10 qualities, alhamdulillah. And I end it with this. Some people will hurt you with words and actions. It's up to you what you want to do and be. You can let those words hurt you and change you, or you can acknowledge and feel sorry for that person and do what the Prophet ﷺ did. Once he was giving out some charities, and one man from the Ansar said hurtful words. He said, Wallahi, he didn't do justice about the Prophet ﷺ. So another companion said, Wallahi, I will tell the Messenger of Allah what you said about him. He went to the Prophet ﷺ and said to him, Ya Rasulullah, this person said this to you in secret. And the Rasul ﷺ said, he got angry. Why did he get angry? He got angry because he's talking about the Messenger of God, that he is unjust. That's got to do with religion and iman. But then he calmed down and said, لَقَدْ أُوذِيَ مُوسَى بِأَكْثَرِ مِنْ ذَلِكَ فَصَبَرَ. Moses was harmed even greater than that by his people, but he remained persevering and patient. So choose your battles and keep your character good. Finally, brothers and sisters, smile. A person with good, strong character is able to smile. A friend said to me they were at uni and they had a presentation in front of the class. And one day a friend got up and was giving the presentation. They were nervous. Everybody staring at them with a blunt face. And this person, who I know, was smiling to the presenter and saying, and just nodding their head and smiling, encouraging them. After they finished, that person never forgot that favor that the friend did for them, smiling and encouraging them. Everybody loves when people motivates and encourages. And smiling goes a huge way. Rasulullah ﷺ used to always smile, used to always be cheerful. And it releases beautiful neurotransmitters in your brain and your body, such as dopamine and endorphins and serotonin and all these different names, which de-stress you. Some of them are antidepressants. Some of them give you satisfaction and happiness. And some of them, they build your immune system. Anger, however, 1 minute of anger makes your immune system go down by 4 hours. One moment of happiness and a bit of laughter and smiles build your immune system for 24 hours. So brothers and sisters, this is a strong person, inshaAllah ta'ala. I'm sorry I took long. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.
Okay, yeah, it's a very beautiful message by Sheikh Bilal Assad. Barakallah fi. May Allah grant him the highest ranks in Jannah for all his contribution he's doing to the community, in the Muslim community, and the Ummah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Peace and blessings be upon him. I have been taking some notes, so I will sort of make some comments. He did say on rule 3, the third rule is self-management, time management, and yeah, this is something that I've always been talking about in so many different ways. I've been saying, you know, if you aim at nothing, you hit nothing. Okay, so you have to have a target, you have to have a schedule. Of course, you don't have to, you know, you do your best, obviously, to stick to that particular program that you set up. So, you know, you might wake up at Fajr or an hour before Fajr, half an hour before Fajr, and you start your program, and then you pray Fajr and so on. But sometimes, you know, things happen in life. You might be traveling and so on. You know, I'm traveling and I didn't sleep for, like, say 24 hours, 36 hours, which is really not recommended for your health. And so I get to the point where, you know, I oversleep and I end up waking after Fajr, and so on. So yeah, no one's perfect. Yeah, we always have to work on ourselves. We always have to try to manage our time more efficiently and so on, and improve. Okay, so we should always have, you know, manage our time, because this is our greatest asset that we have. Once you lose your time, it's gone forever. You can't get it back. No one's can reverse time. They haven't invented a time machine to go back in time and so on. But yeah, we all, if we can start our life again, we'll be different. Obviously we'll do different things, we'll manage our time differently, but we can't look back. We can only look forward. We can learn from our past and try to not repeat the same mistake again, and try to use our present and the future. That's all we can do. We can only look forward and make the rest of our life the best of our life. Okay. Point 4, he talked about the types of people. He mentioned a prisoner. The other one was, equal. So you're independent. You don't need anyone. No one needs you. That kind of stuff. And or being a commander. You're a leader. You're inspiring others, and so on. And the prisoner is, or someone who's depending on others, is the worst type. Of course, sometimes in life you need help, you need support. No man's an island, no woman's an island. We all need each other. Like I've always said before in the previous podcasts, is that we should cooperate together. Allah's distributed all our traits and attributes and the strengths and weaknesses equally amongst us, and if we cooperate we can complete each other. And like I've always said before, sometimes my weakness could be someone else's strength, and my strength can be someone else's weakness, so we can jointly we can sort of complete each other and perform better in whatever task it is, whether it's business or anything in life. Unfortunately, a lot of people I come across with, in life, they always play the victim game. They always complain, exaggerate their issues that they might have, so they can get sympathy from people. So when they see people feel sorry for them, they feel happy. They like to play that negative attitude in life, always complaining, life is hard and so on. And they want people to just come down to their level. They always want to play that they're not strong enough, they're too weak, and they're unable, and then they're in pain and so on. When actually it's all in their imagination. And they all do that just to make people feel sorry for them. And they don't try to do anything about it, unfortunately. They want to always be depending on others. They want people to just basically give them and so on. And after a while, people do clock on, or they fall in that trap, and they continuously keep supporting this particular individual. Unfortunately, a lot of the people that I meet in life are like of that type, the prisoner type, where they always depend on others. They prefer to be beggars than be productive human beings. And then he also talked about being equal, independent, and also that's also not so good, to be honest with you, because we, like I said, no one's complete. No one's a complete human being. Even a man and a woman, no man's complete without his wife. Allah created us this way. When he created Adam and he created Hawa, or his partner in paradise, it was a part of Adam. So Adam is, as a man, is not a complete man without a woman. Of course, if you marry the wrong woman, she can destroy you. If you marry the right woman, then she can make you. So it's always important to choose wisely. And my recommendation, I'm not like married or anything to give you marital advice, but in my opinion and what I believe in, is that when you choose a wife, you shouldn't be looking at her as like just a beauty side. Yes, of course, she has to be attractive enough for you, in sort of like there has to be some sort of a chemistry connection. However, you should always look at there's common interest between you. You have the same belief, the same goal in life, that kind of stuff. Also, you need to be very diligent when you're choosing your wife, because you not only want her as a pious Muslimah who's going to be your partner in this world and the next, inshaAllah, but also she's going to be the mother of your children, if Allah blesses you with children. So you want someone that's a bit stable in their mind, not someone that's aspiring for materialistic things, not someone who's ignorant. You're looking for someone that's a little bit educated or at least smart. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way for women that haven't had any education because of maybe their parents took them out of school when they were younger, or their parents or in the country they're against women getting education, which is absolutely wrong. It's un-Islamic because everyone deserves an education, and everyone should is actually an obligation on every Muslim, whether it's a man or woman, to seek education. So no one can sort of prevent you for that. But however, I have been to third world countries and I met up with families and I gave them advice in these matters. And you'll be very surprised. A lot of these women that haven't had any education, hasn't had any sort of formal education, they're far more intelligent, and some of them are actually more intelligent and more tuned to the reality than the ones that have actually gone through formal education and maybe have done a master's degree and so on. So I found they're very smart, intelligent, they have very high IQ. So Allah's blessed them with that intelligence to see what's right and wrong and that kind of stuff, and try to derive conclusions far quicker than the ones that have gone through some sort of academic program. I know there's a big trend out there between the successful entrepreneurs and so on that say you don't need academic qualifications, it's a waste of time, it's a waste of money and all that stuff. And I strongly disagree with that. I do agree with some points that obviously Andrew Tate says on education, because he's experienced education from like primary school, secondary school. I do agree with him in that, if the only experience you've had is primary school and secondary school, yes, it is a waste of time. I didn't gain very much. The school that I went to, the main focus of it was trying to survive, fighting people, dealing with bullies, that kind of stuff. So it's all about survival rather than trying to get an education. So it's not a good environment to be in. But it teaches you about life, because all types of people are there. People there are just time wasters. They're not really interested in education. All they care about is their physical strength. So you have to compete on physical strength to survive your school. So yeah, it was a waste of time. It was really trying to program the children into certain structure. And of course, the current education has gone a bit, kind of like woke, and it's gone in a completely weird way, and they're now trying to brainwash children, brain trash children on trash basically. So it's not quite a good place to be for children today. It's far worse than when I went to school. So yeah, it's something to consider. So it's always homeschooling is better, but I would highly recommend that children that are over the age of 16 could pursue more formal education, go to university. The best quality of education I've received was actually at postgraduate level, so the master degrees level, and that's what gave me that addiction to education. That's why I actually went and did a number of degrees after that, because of that addiction, because I was gaining so much knowledge. I felt I was growing as an individual, and I pursued more education in that way, and that's what drove me also to go into PhD research after that, which is what I'm currently on. A bit late, but it's never too late, because it's also a way for you to contribute and give back, you to push that knowledge boundary a little bit forward. That's why I also recommend that everyone should try in their lifetime to do some sort of contribution through a research program, such as postdoctorate degree, or do multiple degrees, and not think about what's in it for you. Think about how you could be more productive human being and how you could be useful for others, to help others move on. So it's really trying to gain as much knowledge and share as much, to give back. Okay, so there's that point. So yeah, that's what I was talking about, the independent individual. So you shouldn't be thinking so much about being just equal with people, but rather than someone that's a teacher and someone's a student and so on. And we should be interdependent, not independent, but interdependent. Just like the environment, the trees, they take carbon dioxide, they produce oxygen, all that stuff. Yeah, so all that photosynthesis, and all these things are important. This is how the whole cycle works. Some animals eat other animals to survive, and then we eat these animals, and so on. So it's kind of like a cycle. So we all interdepend on each other. So it's important to be like that, that we all cooperate together and work together for the common good and the benefit of society and the world, and for the next generation to come as well. Not be so selfish to think about ourselves, exploit the resources for our own benefit and maximizing profit. Because once we die, we're not going to take anything with us. But what we're going to leave behind is what's going to benefit us. This is what's going to be a perpetual charity once we're gone. So and our intention always has to be that we are fulfilling our obligation as servants of the Creator, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is very important. And he also talked about point 5, constructive criticism. I'm always saying in my videos, please do give me some constructive criticism, feedback, whether it's the quality, whether anything I've said, maybe increase me with knowledge, give me some guidance. If you have more guidance in Islam, you've studied Islam more academically, more formally, and I know a few imams that they follow my channel and so on. I have a lot of imam and scholar friends that give me some sort of feedback, but yeah, I feel free, give me some feedback. Don't feel that I will be offended. I welcome constructive criticism, and I value it when someone tells me that I've said something wrong, or I've misquoted a hadith or a verse of Quran, whatever, because I'm always trying to improve, and you as well should always be welcoming constructive criticism. And I did mention the sister who has a charity, for her own selfish gains. However, when I said to her, "Taqillah, be God-fearing," and so on, she got offended. So, because I told her you shouldn't be doing it for fame or fortune or you should do it for Allah only. So when you do a charity, do it for Allah, not for someone to give you a trophy, not for what people see you as and say, "Oh, she's such a kind woman." And she's not aware that she didn't do anything. It's only the donors. The donors are the ones who are giving her the money. She's taking part of it for herself and her family, and she gives out whatever she gives out. So it's not really her money when it started off with. It's actually other people's money. So she's not the one that puts herself on a pedestal. She should be humbled by her position that Allah's given her, and inspired her to do this. But it's a test for her. It's a test for me, for whatever position I hold as well. These are tests. These are it's a burden. It's a responsibility. It's not a luxury to be, CEO of a company or head of a charity or head of a country. It's not a luxury. People are fighting over these positions. I've been to a mosque where people are fighting for positions in the mosque management. So they all want to be trustees, they want to hold the position, treasurer, president. They're all fighting for these titles. But what's their benefit? I mean, what is it they're trying to benefit? Is it like written somewhere that if you are the mosque president or you're the mosque treasurer, you're going to go to this level of paradise in Jannah or something? Is it like give you a guarantee or something that you're going to Jannah? And yet, the worst of type of people that I've met are people that actually held in the past president position in a mosque committee. They're the worst of people that I've met, actually, because when I ask them for certain things or to do something, they're the people that turned their back. They weren't interested because they were always thinking about what's in it for them. And a lot of them are actually involved in haram activity. I know one person that owned a shop, a restaurant, and he's selling alcohol, for example, and he held a position as a mosque president of the mosque committee. Another person who is not even fulfilling his obligations without giving his details. Also, he held the thing because of his status. That's all it was. People put them in that position not because of their level of iman with Allah or their good trustworthy individuals, but rather because of their status in society or anything like that, and they think if they choose this person, it's better for them. They don't look into, whether this person is a Muslim, a mu'min, or not. They just care about this, and it's more like favors. So his friends putting themselves, and they think this is something that is going to benefit them in this world and the next, which is absolutely nonsense. It's actually a responsibility. It's a burden on us when you're in a position of authority, and it's a trust from the community. And we're fighting. Some people were saying, "Oh, this mosque should be run by Arabs," for example. So they were going for nationalism, and then the other was saying, "No, no, no. We started this first. We're Bengali, Pakistani, and we're the ones who funded this, and so on." And then everyone's bringing out all their dirty laundry. Where these group of Arabs were saying, "Oh, these people are not doing. They're doing haram business. He's got a restaurant, he's got a corner shop, and he's selling haram and so on." So they're kind of exposing each other's dirty laundry in front of the community. And so I've witnessed that, and I've been to a lot of cities around the UK. I've predominantly lived in Scotland, but I've also travelled the world. I've been to Middle Eastern countries, European countries from the East and West. So I've been around, and I attended different mosques. I interacted with different types of people, and I witnessed certain things. Alhamdulillah, Allah showed me these things to see the reality of individuals, but it's absolutely wrong. It's far away from Islam. We should be uniting, and we should not be going into nationalistic realms, because ultimately we all originated from Adam. And recently, I'll make this comment, and maybe the brother, when he see this, he might realize this in the Isle of Man, where I was attending the Isle of Man government conference, and I met an Arab brother, and he was saying to me, "Oh, we should, Arabs, we should unite together and create a group exclusively for Arabs and Muslim Arabs and this and that." And I was like saying, "Is this guy real? Why are you trying to create a group exclusively for Arabs and trying to divide the community and trying to create this line? Why not create a group which benefits the whole of mankind?" Because we are such a small number. I mean, there's only 85,000 people on the island. So, and we're trying to grow, obviously, with quality people on the island, attract quality, productive people, economically active individuals and so on. But we should be trying to unite under, productive activity, rather than trying to unite under nationalistic grounds. And that's absolutely wrong. And you see that a lot in every community, where people are getting segregated into compartments. These are the Arabs, these are the Egyptians, these are the Pakistanis, these are the Bangladeshis, and they're all separated. And if you don't belong to that particular community, you get shunned aside. So it's really sad. It's a sad reality, where people don't realize that we are all brothers and sisters, and we should be cooperating together for the common good, for everyone to benefit, and helping others. So unfortunately, this is the reality of the world we live in today, and that should change, my opinion. Point, I think we covered point 5, constructive criticism. Then he said about accept your mistakes. This was point 6, and forgive yourself for your past. I'm not perfect. I've made mistakes in my life, whether it's intentional or unintentional, and then later on I regretted it. And people, unfortunately, they get stuck with something they've done in the past, and they want to move on. However, sometimes their family and friends hold them back. They remind them, "Oh, by the way, you used to do this," or "when you was younger, you did this mistake." So they always remind them of their sins, and it only causes them more distress and stress in their life, and they feel they're not worthy to change and become better. So it's really the fault of other people as well as the individual, for listening to the negative minded people, negative attitude people. Because I don't know what it is, but sometimes people don't want you to change because they're also negative. So if someone's was a smoker, for example, or an alcoholic, or he did, sins, other types of sins, or whatever, and his friends and family are always also alcoholics and smokers and so on. And then if that individual one day wakes up and says, actually, I want to get closer to Allah, I want to stop all my bad habits, and I want to change, or I want to go on a diet, and they're from an obese family, immediately everyone will start to attack that individual. He's not trying to do something harmful, he's trying to do something good with his life. However, people don't want anyone to shine. If it's your son or your daughter, so they always prevent them from progressing. And they have to fight and resist that. There's a book called Rhinoceros Success, where Scott Alexander, the author, he talks about the Murphy Committee. So it's a bit like the Murphy Committee, where they try to stop them from progressing and changing their life for the better, because they don't want them to be different, because they will stand out and they will make them look bad and that kind of stuff. So people pull other people down, unfortunately. The only community that I've seen which encourage each other is the Jewish community. I've lived amongst Jewish brothers and so on, and sisters, and I see them always uniting together. In fact, any place that I go to that's predominantly Jewish, they automatically reach out to me asking me if I need any assistance, any support, if I'm starting a business, maybe this guy is an accountant, this guy's a lawyer, and they're trying to introduce me to the other community in the area to try to see how they can help me grow. So that's the thing. But in the Muslim dominated areas, or Arabs or Egyptian areas and so on, you find that the community is completely fragmented and no one wants to support you. In fact, if you reach out to anyone, whether it's your neighbor or friends or anyone in the community, and you say to them, I'm actually new to this area, could you give me some guidance? I'm looking for a place to rent or something. And they would completely avoid you. And anytime, because you've approached them once, asking them if they know a place, and so on, they will, anytime they see you in the street, they will cross the street and pretend that they can't see you. I witnessed this quite a lot, and I've also witnessed it in the Isle of Man when I approached certain brothers to, let's cooperate together, let's start a company together, let's build together. We have common interests, we're both in technology, why not cooperate for the common good? Let's build a bigger company together, economic scale, have one office and establish myself on the island far stronger and that kind of stuff. And I realized that they're not interested in cooperation. They were thinking always about them. When they were struggling, they came to me, help me, help me. But if I was struggling, they would completely ignore me. They would not, care. They're always approaching, asking how I can benefit them, not what can we both bring to the table and cooperate and mutually benefit. So they always go into a meeting with the wrong side of mentality. They should always be thinking of a win-win strategy. How can we cooperate together? What can I bring? What can you bring? Let's put together, pull our resources together, and let's cooperate. They have a very wrong way of thinking, unfortunately. And they're thinking of just, well, I don't need anyone, but I will benefit. I want to play that prisoner, and I'm also equal at the same time. They want to be that, but they never want to be a leader or a commander or someone that's cooperating with others. That's not fun. So we can learn from other people, successful people that are united together for their common cause. Whether that cause is bad or good, whether they are, whatever is happening politically as well, we should put that for a moment aside and look at the traits and attributes, the good quality traits and attributes of other communities, and learn from that and bring it into the Islamic community, because this is what Islam teaches. They didn't just make it up. It's human nature to unite and cooperate, but also this is what the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ taught us. We should be united, we should be cooperating, we should be competing against ourselves, not competing against others. We should compete and try to improve our life, and constantly try to improve our life, and try to look for ways how we can contribute to society, not contribute to ourselves, but contribute to the world. What can we pay forward? not what can we take from others, what can we benefit from others. We should be focused on how can I serve my fellow human being, my fellow brother and sister? How can I serve them? So every time when I go into a meeting, I'm always thinking, how can I help you? Not how can you help me? I'm thinking, how can I help you? Unfortunately, that individual does not think the same way. He's always thinking, well, yeah, give me, take, take, take. And then I realize that he just wants to take and not give. And he's someone that wants to hoard. So if I give him with a responsibility that he will distribute out, he doesn't do that. He only thinks about, I will take, consume, and do nothing else. And in fact, I actually spoke to someone who was in a former government of an Asian country, and he was going through some sort of hardship financially and so on. And I evaluated that individual, and I found that he's got some traits and attributes, good qualities and so on. And I said to him, brother, you need help, right? But I know this other person who might benefit from your skills. He might benefit from your advice. And he says, no, 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 I'm busy now. I have to go now. And so he didn't want to help someone else. And I said, maybe, perhaps, brother, if you help this person, perhaps Allah will provide other people and resources for you to help you in your difficult times right now. So unfortunately, people have twisted their understanding, and they seem to think that this whole world is there and everyone is there to serve them. They're very spoiled. I found that a lot of people in government positions, if they come from a high family that maybe has spoiled them as children, so they feel that they're entitled, and the whole world is there to support them, but they don't do anything. Unfortunately, that's the case, and a lot of them end up in positions of authority. That's why we have a corrupt world. You look everywhere in the Muslim world, or countries that profess to be Islamic countries, they're completely corrupt in so many ways. I don't need to go into too much detail on the level of corruption and oppression that goes on. But yeah, so he said accept your mistake. Yeah, we said that point. And point 7, a strong person to build themselves does not. Yeah, so yeah, you should just basically avoid asking people personal questions. Sometimes people approach me and they say to me, "Oh, what are you doing today?" I mean, like, what did you do yesterday? What did you do? What are you gonna do today? Who are you gonna talk to today? I mean, are they involved in the business? Are they involved in my life in some way that they have to know exactly where I'm going? And then they ask me this question, what did you eat today? Like, how's that gonna benefit them? If I did eat or I didn't eat, or I've had fish or I ate chicken, how is that gonna benefit them? Why are they asking me these personal questions? So people are a bit nosy in other areas of people's lives, which is personal things. It's my diet is not for you. You eat whatever you want to eat. Don't look at what I eat. And then they go into, oh, no, you should be eating this. You should not be eating. You should be eating. Doesn't matter. It's my life. It's my body. I know what's good for me and what's not bad. What works for me. You know what's good for you. So you should not cross your boundaries. So there's these points. Where did you go? Yeah, I get asked sometimes, what's your car brand? And then they make a comment, oh, this car's better than that car. Oh, that car's too cheap. Oh, you should get this car. None of your business what I drive. Even if I don't have a car or have a car, it doesn't matter. How is that going to benefit you? How is that going to make the world a better place? Always reflect, how is that going to be worship to Allah? How is this going to make us a better servant of Allah? How is that going to make us anything positive by having this wasteful, idle conversations? How many rooms, I get asked as well, how many rooms do you have? How many, how big is your house? All that. What's that got to do with you? Are you an interior designer? So some people, they intervene in your personal affairs, and they cross the boundaries. So you should always respect other people's boundaries and get people to respect your boundaries. So everyone has their own personal life. You should not intervene in it. Likewise, Bilal Assad, he mentioned that when you go to someone's house, even if they're inside and you knock, You knock 3 times. They don't answer you. Maybe they're busy. You don't have to keep persistently knocking and saying, "Oh, I know you're in there. Open the door." And none of that. You don't know what's going on. Maybe they're busy. Maybe they're sick. Whatever. Respect people's privacy. Don't, you know, cross the boundaries. So there's the point that he mentioned. And then number 8, which is also a pandemic in our community, the Muslim community in particular, is jealousy, envy and jealousy. Always people are envious, jealous. Many times, brothers will come to me and I'll have a conversation with them and they will say to me, "Oh, you're lucky. Oh, I wish I was like you. I wish I wish I wasn't married. Otherwise, I would have more money." It's a big responsibility being married. It's a big responsibility having children. I can't maintain my wife and my children. I'm struggling. I need help, and so on. So, and they, "Oh, you're lucky. Oh, how could you have succeeded?" They look at everything that I do, and they always, instead of trying to do better or get inspired to take action, they just like to shut down their mind and say, "Well, it can't be done. I can't do it because of 1, 2, 3, 4," and make all these different excuses because they're a loser. That's what that it comes down to, they're a loser. And because they're a loser, they think the only thing they can do is envy, become jealous, complain about you know, their issues that they're having and the challenges in their life, instead of saying, "Alhamdulillah, I am better than other people. I'm better. Allah's given me a better position. Allah's given me a house I can rent." They're always comparing against other people that Allah has raised in some way or another, whether it's education or financially or whatever. Don't look at the people above you. Always be humble and look at the people below you and be grateful, be empathetic, and try to help the people below you. Instead of looking at the people above you and becoming envious and jealous, look at the people that are less fortunate than you. Say Alhamdulillah, try to help them. Perhaps Allah also will send people that will look at your case and try to help you and raise you higher. So think of it in that way. Stop the envy and jealousy. That disease in the heart is sick. It's a sickness. And anyone with that disease will not enter paradise. You have to purify your heart. And I spoke about the hadith of this brother who, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, peace and blessings upon him, said that he's from the people of paradise. And because of he hasn't got any hasad in his heart, and he forgives everyone, when he goes to sleep, he starts every new day with a new clean slate. Okay, so this is important for the Muslims in particular, because I see this as a big pandemic in our community at the moment. And then point 9, he mentioned diet, your sleep. I need to work on my sleep because I don't get much sleep, and it does have an adverse effect on my health, of course. So yeah, sleep is very important. I need to sleep more and get this regular pattern going and sleep early. And so I need to work on that on myself as well. So you should also, get enough sleep and not overwork. Of course, I'm not saying you should sleep all the time. Plan your day, structure your program in such a way that you can get your, good night's sleep, and sleeping early and so on, and also your diet. A lot of people are on a high sugar, high carb diet, and they're suffering from obesity, and obesity is the root of all other issues that you might have, whether it's blood pressure, diabetes, and all other sicknesses, inflammation in the body, and so on. So you need to tackle that. So you need to go on a healthy diet. The best way, start on, maybe an intermittent fasting. Fast for like 16 hours a day. You could drink liquid, or you can fast the Islamic way, which is like a dry fast. You don't drink or eat for 16 hours, and then break your fast on meat, healthy fats, and a little bit of carb, maybe like half a banana or something. Just have a nice balanced diet, low carb, low glucose or zero sugar. Eat more vegetables than fruits, of course, because fruits has fructose, and too much fructose can cause you liver damage and liver disease, known as non-alcoholic liver disease. So you want to avoid fructose, because fructose is very close to alcohol, and it has the same impact. If people are drinking too much alcohol, it will damage the liver. If people are eating fruits, more than say 2 fruits or something, it can have an adverse effect, and it's even worse if you're obese. So a healthy person eat 2-3 fruits a day, but an unhealthy person who's obese, if he eats the same, it could have an even more adverse effect than someone said. You need to cut down even more, maybe just 1 apple a day and that's it, or just 1 fruit, or just a small slice of each fruit, just something, a small quantity, rather than going for 2-3 fruits a day. So yeah, so that's something to watch out for. And I don't need to tell you how to do your diet, work out what works for you and what's best for you, but always try to monitor your health and make sure that you go in the right direction. Don't depend on the doctors. Don't depend on the medicine and the pills, which is already benefiting the pharmaceutical industry, and they don't want you to recover. They want you to be dependent on something, because that's how they make their profit. So you need to be aware of these things. You can't be a lemming all your life. You can't be a numpty. You have to wake up and realize what's going on in the world, and all these nonsense that's going around. Okay, because at the end they're seeing you as a product, and yeah, that's all they want. They want to use you in any way they can to profit. So only the minority would profit, and the majority, or 99%, would be in this state where they're just a product. They're just there as a consumer, and that's it. So yeah, and you also talked about exercise, and you mentioned the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, peace and blessings be upon him. He would run, he would jog, he also did contact sports, all that stuff for men. He encouraged that as well. Horse riding, all sorts of sports and activities, physical activities. So it's very important to do some exercise. Not just go to the gym and sit in a sauna like some people do, or something like that. Yeah, Prophet Muhammad never did that. Never went to any place, just sit down in a hot place and just steam room, and that's it. As a luxury, it's nothing like that. Exercise, that means you do physical exercise. That means you work hard. You're burning calories. You're lifting weight. That's what men do. You don't go and sit in a room just to steam up. That's not exercise. That's not classed as exercise. Yeah, so the men are supposed to be physical. Yeah, get down and work hard and do some physical. And a lot of the work nowadays, our professions, is not very physical. We don't go out and dig in roads and stuff. I mean, I don't do that now. All I do is I code on the computer. So the only exercise I do is my fingers, and most of the time I'm sitting down. So it's not very healthy, and I don't get exercise. So I have to do walks. I have to go to the gym. I have to do this. If someone's job requires lifting, they're in the construction industry and they're lifting lots of stuff, they're doing a lot of physical exercise, they're working all the major muscles in their body, the cores and so on, that's fine. They're at least getting exercise during working hours, so that's fine. But for others that are just basically performing their job, or they're running their business just from a computer, they need to put in the time to go for a walk, possibly 10,000 steps or a little bit more every day. Try to do that, and maybe do 2-3 times in a gym as well. Do your anaerobic and aerobic exercise and so on. So you need to work different things, and each type of exercise has different benefits. Like, for example, if you're walking, you're burning more fat, and if you're running or doing some high intensity training, you're burning more the sugar reserves and so on. So it's always important to balance that. Also, your strength, you're improving your heart when you do a run, a high pace, so to say your heart rate's racing and stuff. So you're working on your heart, you're working on different organs, you're working on different parts of your body as well. So it's important to give your body a complete workout internally and externally as well. So that's important. And yeah, I mean, sticking to your rights and boundaries, I kind of touched on that. This number 10, which is very, very good point. And I can tell you some of my experiences. There was one brother in London. He's from Turkish brother, and he wanted to come into London and set up a company and so on. Unfortunately, he wasn't he's not a practicing Muslim. so he wouldn't go to the mosque or anything like that. And I would meet him the odd time, and he would always say to me, "Oh, he had this breakup with his girlfriend or whatever," and he would invite me to his apartment. And he would say, well, he needs some help with his website, or he needs help with this or that. And his English wasn't so good, so he would ask me to do things. But at the same time, I'm working. I've got, a business to run. I've got clients to serve and so on. And I would say to him, listen, brother, I'd love to help you, and I really want you to be successful and grow the business that you're trying to set up and everything like that. But I really have to do this and I have to do that. And he got offended. He said, no, you have to help me. And, so he was kind of insisting. And I just said to him, listen, I can probably try to help you sometime in the weekend, because, during the week I'm a bit tight and I have to do a bit of traveling and all that stuff. And he got really offended with that. And he said, oh, that's it. I don't want any help from you. I'll go speak to my ex-girlfriend to help me. That kind of stuff. So I didn't want to interfere in his life or do it, but he was very un-Islamic the way he was living his life. He's secular. He's not very religious, number one, but that's not the point. The point is he would demand from everyone, and this is why his ex-girlfriend left him, is because he was demanding a lot of stuff. He wanted just to take, and she had enough of him. That's why they departed. However, what I'm trying to say is that because he was kind of spoilt as a child back in Turkey, and therefore he assumed that everyone's there to serve him. His girlfriend is there to serve him. He tried to benefit from her. She eventually broke up his relationship. He came and complained to me about it, and then he started asking me to help him to replace the things that she was doing for him, like his website and that kind of stuff. And although I intended to help him because I wanted to bring him closer and slowly invite him to come to the mosque, come at least for Friday prayer, which he didn't go for a long time and that kind of stuff. And I wanted to slowly talk to him about that. But unfortunately, I lost that brother, and I accepted it. I said, Alhamdulillah, I'm not gonna beg him to be my friend. If he doesn't want to be a friend, fine, go find someone else. But I can't push him, and I never interfered in his life. I never told him, brother, it's haram to drink alcohol, it's haram to have a girlfriend, it's haram to do this, it's haram to miss Friday prayer, it's an obligation. I never interfered in his personal life. All I did is I tried to inspire him. He didn't give that chance. All he wanted was to benefit, and yes, he wanted to always cross my boundaries and my time that I have, although my intention was to help him. But unfortunately, some people like that. And so my only advice to you is, get the losers out of your life, because I consider him as a loser, even though he financially came in with a large amount of capital to invest in the UK, set up his company. But that means nothing to me. I look at everyone as a human being, and I look at everyone as a creation of Allah. So when I help someone, I help him based on he's a creation of Allah, and I have a moral obligation to support him as a human being. If I have some information I can benefit someone, I give it freely. I don't try to monetize it in some way or anything like that. I just give it. But if someone's not appreciative, that's their loss. They've lost a friend. They've lost a brother. Fine. Go to someone else. No problem. Good luck. I wish you all the best in this dunya. Because at the end, it's not this dunya that's going to benefit you. It's the akhirah, which is more important. It's what you plant here. We're planting seeds. And that the fruits of that seed that we planted here, you'll get it in the akhirah. You'll get the fruits in the akhirah, not in this dunya. This dunya is temporary. So you should be investing your time, working hard, laboring hard here as a servant. So then, inshaAllah, you could be in paradise. Okay? So I hope I didn't offend anyone by, mentioning certain things. I didn't mention anyone's names. So I'm just giving examples of people that I've come across, individuals. I'm not trying to associate it with a particular race or anything like that. But in general, us as Muslims, specifically as Muslims, people that profess to be Muslims, we have to go back to the Quran, see what the Quran tells us, what Allah is telling us in the Quran, and we have to go back to the example of the Prophet, which is known as the Sunnah. Sunnah is the example of the Prophet in English translation, and we should see how the Prophet ﷺ and his companions interpreted the Quran and implemented the Quran in their life, and we should try to mimic them and emulate their actions. We do our best, I'm trying to do my best. I know I'm not perfect, I have many flaws, many mistakes, but I am trying my best. Inshallah, by the will of Allah, I become a better person and more beneficial in the world. I'm trying to get closer and closer to the way the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ lived his life, as well as the companions and the companions, the tabi'een and so on, lived their life and implemented the example of the Prophet ﷺ. I hope you enjoyed this podcast, live stream, and I enjoyed the video as well. I did notice that it did freeze again, but I just allowed the audio to just keep going, so at least you can hear Sheikh Bilal Assad and benefit from his lecture, inshallah. If you have recommendations of videos that you'd like us to play on the channel and do reaction videos, I welcome. Please tell me in a comment below, or reach out to me on WhatsApp or LinkedIn. I've included my LinkedIn profile, so you can add me there, send me a message. If you want to do a joint podcast together, I welcome it as well. Everything on this channel is fi sabilillah only. So inshallah, once I do programming videos, technical videos, stuff on health, anything at all that I do on this channel, any revenue that's derived from this channel is going 100% fi sabilillah. Any other expenses related, such as investing in equipment or whatever, or even a property or whatever, this is going to come out my personal pocket. It's not coming out of donations. It's not coming out of revenues generated from any channel that I do or anything I do. So if I write a book, whatever, and I do it for sabilillah, that means 100% of the profit will go fi sabilillah, will go for the sake of Allah, to serve others and benefit the community and support those who are sincerely, inshallah, in need, not those who pretend or they want to be, like Sheikh Bilal Assad said, a prisoner, someone who's a loser, someone who's a beggar. Of course, I was at rock bottom once. I needed help, no one helped me except Allah. Allah is the one, and anybody that tried to support me in some way, I appreciated it, and that kind of stuff. So we've all been through that. Even me and my brother Mujahid, who came on the channel before, there was a point in life I was at a low point. He was slightly higher. He reached out and, through a good brother, a Bengali brother called Abdul, he introduced us in the beginning many years ago, and Mujahid helped me, and then there came a point when Mujahid needed support. I was in a position to support. I reached out and replicated. So it's a cycle, Today you might need someone, tomorrow they might need you, and you should reach out, not be of those individuals that, when they're in need, they come to you, and when you're in need, they completely avoid you because they don't want to help anyone. They want to only benefit themselves. Don't be selfish. Otherwise, you will not smell the fragrance of Jannah. Trust me on that. You have to be someone that's a giver. A Muslim is someone who's a giver, not a taker. The taking is from Allah. Allah is the one that's going to give you. Allah is the one that's going to give you the reward. Allah is the one that's going to give you the risk, not you. Stop running after your risk. Work, do the activity, and leave the rest to Allah. That's all I can tell you. This is the secret of success. Forget about all these gurus out there, because they are materialistic gurus. All they care about is money, irrespective of what it does to the community, whether it's benefiting or harming someone, whether 80-90% of the people have to lose money for you to make money. So this is completely wrong. We should be thinking how we can first benefit others, and then at the same time think about doing a business with a modest profit, not exploiting people's vulnerability or exploiting people's ignorance and trying to maximize profit. Okay, so I hope this message is useful and beneficial for someone, inshallah, God willing. And first off, and then lastly, I will just say, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace be upon you and have a lovely day. I've crossed 9 o'clock and now I have to do a bit of work. Okay, take care for now.